But that's why I talk about leaders, because
Go
leaders change the whole picture. And
the whole thing.
but it's so funny to talk about the principle of individuality and then say leaders change the whole picture.
It's where it starts. That's the principle. The principle is autonomy. The principle of rights is this. And therefore, if a leader stands up and says, I'm going to bring people together to make sure we defend autonomy, then I'm like, all right, see, there we go. This is what the leadership is for. This is what human strength is for, to promote the values and principles that lead to the flourishing that is only possible when each individual is allowed to have the ability to reap the rewards for their own choices, to benefit from their own work, and then use that for their own means, values, basically.
Absolutely. This is why, as I go through like the work, things that I'm thinking about, I think people inherently thought monarchies were bad. And I'm not so sure that I believe that all the time.
Yes, I'm having this problem right now trying to make sense of this in my mind. I'm like, is the way the government set up the problem, or is it instead the principles the government operates by?
I think it's the latter.
Right?
The thing,
a little bit of both. And I'm like, but it's most of the principles, right? If everyone was doing the right thing in the right way, I wouldn't mind if we elected them, or if they were just like, I have the most strength, so I'm just going to do the right thing because I have all the resources. I'm like, I guess we're just going to do the right thing. Let them do the right thing.
So if you look at history, you either got a good king or you got a bad king. There's evidence that there were good kings, right? And I also think that that's kind of the whole idea of nobility. In a sense, I think you're raising people to have a certain awareness.
But also, like, everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Some people are going to be good in one area and be bad in another. And I think that's unavoidable. I'm just trying to find people who can agree on some of the main things and get some of the main strengths in there. Like, it'd be great if you could stand up for some of the things that are going to keep society going. And then some of like the extra bias stuff, like, oh, I like cheese versus, tomato on the sandwich. I'm like, you know what? Maybe we talk about this part. You let the people work on their own people things. But like the moral principles, it's like, I either want to steal or I want to work. I'm like, no, we're all going to have to work. I'm going to need everyone to be on the same page. That's just going to have to be wrong for everybody at every level all the time. All right.
But this is my point with force, though, because at the end of the day, whenever you're saying that, how do you make anybody have to? There has to be some element of force.
Yes.
That to me warrants a conversation of what is the proper use of force. There are things to me that I like to swim in the blue oceans. Well, I guess that's a marketing term, right? Like everybody talks about certain things in philosophy or politics or just philosophical conversation, whatever. And I think people just avoid certain topics. To me, that's just like, wait a minute, how can you avoid? But when I'm talking about force, I'm like, wait a minute, all of this, somebody has to do something. This is all force. Yes. At the end of the day, police come to your house and force you into a car, then force you into a cell.
Yep. The executive branch and the army exist for a reason. If we desire order, this is how we get order. Order comes from strength, and that strength has to be used in these ways to force people to obey these rules. These rules don't have to micromanage your every breath, but they do need to stand up for specific principles that make collaboration possible. And I think that is something that gets ignored, gets skipped over. People don't prioritize effectively to say, what are the guardrails that we have to have in place if we want to drive on this road?
I think some people think it's a barbaric conversation. It's like, we don't want to talk about force because that's
uncivilized.
Yes, it's uncivilized. But it's like, we have to talk about these things. Because if we don't talk about these things, we're going to use them poorly or in an ineffective way.
Yeah. But force is the foundation. If you don't build a foundation, then you can't be surprised that your stuff keeps falling over. And it's very, very rickety. I'm like, a lot of people's arguments and systems don't work very effectively because we ignore the foundation of it takes strength to both gain this, to build this, to maintain it, and to make it better. And when people are like, I want to improve this problem, I'm like, excellent, you're going to need force for that. And they're like, why would you bring that up now? Like, you said you wanted to make this better. Look how we got here because you could force this to happen.
Look at the word make.
Right? You're going to need some sort of element of strength to be able to do this. You're going to need strength to procure the resources, strength to process them, strength to build them into something better. You said better, right? So you're going to want to be able to use the things to make something different than what we already have. The way we got what we had was by using the force. Why would you ignore the force?
Well, and here's here's a scary piece. The person who avoids the force conversation is the person that's going to be most likely to use force.
Yes.